That's your cue to take your seats. Thank you, Joe, for getting us to the church on time. Luce and I need to play that every time because we're always late. Good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
We are a resilient congregation. And I say that because we've had a slight change in plans this morning. Our Reverend Jami was in Boston at the UUA headquarters. They were trying to fly home on Friday, and of course, you know, with some of the storms, Reverend Jami's flights have been delayed. And so I'm sorry to say that you'll have to see me throughout the whole service a lot. However, we appreciate that Reverend Jami was able to record their sermon, and we will have an opportunity to hear that in the service today. Hopefully, if live stream is working, I know Reverend Jami was going to try to join us via live stream. Let's see. We want to start a little bit with a few announcements. We'll have some brief announcements at this time. At the end of the service, I'll tell you a little bit more about everything, all right? But just to remind you, I hope that you picked up one of these this morning. We are going to have our second round of discussions on Article 2, so those of you who are not able to join us 2 weeks ago, please come sit at the table, have a light lunch with us, and we will talk about proposed changes as to some of our covenant and affirmation words that we use. So we'll have more about that. Social justice meeting is going to be this Monday, and we've got a bulletin board activity, and so slips of paper are there for you to write about some gutsy, bold, courageous, important women that you know in your life or history. And we're asking you to participate by writing their names on a piece of paper and put it on the bulletin board. All right? Anything else we want to highlight real quickly right now? Or are we good? All right. So let me just say officially, good morning, good morning. It's wonderful to see you all here, and whether you're here physically or visiting with us and joining us virtually, I appreciate that everybody has come to be together today. And whether you're here for the first time as a visitor or a long time, know that this is a place for you, and we welcome you. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Michelle Augustine. I've been affiliated with San Gabriel UU for about 8 years now. My faith history, though, I started out as a Catholic. I was raised in a Catholic grade school. And then I transformed into Presbyterianism for about 40 years. My faith journey took me in that path. And it was after moving to Sun City and having exposure to the Unitarian Universalist Church that I found this church home provides me a way to express myself in my faith journey in a variety of ways, and that I'm accepted here. And I continue that faith journey with you, and I appreciate you being part of that journey with me. My pronouns are she, her, and we are standing on the land of the Tonkawa. When I attend some UUA functions and social justice functions virtually, they often recognize the lands of the indigenous people they're on. And so in our Williamson County Sun, I don't know if any of you noticed the giant timeline history of Williamson County, who's celebrated 175 years, right? They start out back in 1820, peaceful Tonkawa Indians called their homeland Takachu Poetsu, meaning land of good water. San Gabriel Church is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and there are about 1,000 congregations in the United States. We are all working together for a just, peaceful, sustainable world. Sustaining each other here in the community is the first step down the long road of work. If you want to know more about us, if you're new to UU or our church and want to know about some of the events that are going on, please do check our website and sign up for our newsletter. Do know that whoever you are, whatever pathway you are on, wherever you are from, whomever you love, wherever you are in life's journey, you are welcome here. All right, so let us greet this day in a song. We're going to use the Teal hymnal number 1014. There's been a change, a wording change in that hymn. The author, Jason Sheldon, has updated his lyrics to match the spirit of our denomination's campaign, Side of Love. So we have noted that it's going to be changed to Answering the Call of Love. It's a good example that we are a living tradition. We change, we're dynamic. And so you'll see some new wording marked in the hymnal. Words will be projected, but we are saying Answering the Call of Love, number 1014. Thank you, Jackie, and I guess it was you that changed our hymnal, so thank you very much for taking on that task. So, let us think about our chalice. It's a symbol of light and knowledge. It's a symbol of warmth and friendship and freedom. So we light this chalice, our symbol of our faith, Because we're here today, we gather to celebrate hope in the infinite possibilities of love. Our call to worship was written by Reverend Hope Johnson, and it's called One Love. So let's see what Reverend Johnson has to say. We are one, a diverse group of proudly kindred spirits, here not by coincidence, but because we choose to journey together. Together. We are active and proactive, we care deeply, we live our love as best as we can. We are one. Working, eating, laughing, playing, singing, storytelling, sharing, and rejoicing, getting to know each other. Taking risks, being vulnerable, opening up, questioning, seeking, searching, trying to understand, struggling, making mistakes, paying attention, asking questions, listening, living our answers, learning to love our neighbors, and learning to love ourselves, apologizing and forgiving with humility, being forgiven through grace, creating the beloved community together. We are one. It's time now for us to say our affirmation, which is our way of covenanting together some promises. And we say words, but then we follow those words with how we're going to do those. What action are we going to take? So with that, are we ready for our affirmation slide? Thank you for that heads up. The doctrine of this church is love. The quest of truth is its sacrament. Service is our prayer. And we do that. We do that to dwell together in peace. To seek knowledge in freedom. To serve humanity in fellowship. To that end, all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with one another. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm always wondering what's going to be in the box and what our story is. I learned so much from our stories. I appreciate all that you do, Karina, with all that. Thank you.
Good morning. I appreciate that, Michelle. I'm glad you're wondering with us. What could be in here today? And I will give you a hint. It has been in the Wonder Box before. This is a repeat. Fairly chunky and heavy. A book? Could be, yeah. Any other guesses? A stone, yeah. Make some stone soup. We'll open it up. And it doesn't surprise me that a mirror is something that we've had in here before, because so often this time is a time of reflection, right? So let's see what our story has to say about, ourselves in this moment. So let's take a listen.
I Am Love, a Book of Compassion, written by Susan Faraday, illustrated by Peter H. Reynolds, published by Abrams Books for Young Readers. When I see someone going through a storm of hurt and unfairness of anger and sadness. When the sun disappears and the skies grow dark, and I see there is fear, I ask myself, what can I do to help let the light back in? I put my hands on my heart and listen, and that is where I find the answer. I have compassion. I act with tenderness. I am love. I can listen and not say a word. I can be there. Love is being present. I can hug and hold and say, everything will be all right. Love is comfort. I can speak softly and choose my words and actions carefully. Love is gentle. I can give thanks for all I have and am able to share. Love is gratitude. I can keep my mind and body safe and healthy. Love is taking care of me. I can express what's important to me. Love is creative. I can know that no one is perfect. Love is understanding. I can do my best to make things better when something is wrong. Love is effort. I can celebrate those I've loved before. Love is remembering. I can find goodness in a kind word, a helping hand, or a shared smile. Love is tiny gestures. I can breathe in the air that the whole world shares and know all creatures are made from the very same stardust. Love is connection. When the clouds roll in for others and for me, I now know there is something I can do. I can let my heart lead the way. I am love. You are love. We are love. And with love, we will weather the storm and light up the sky together. The end.
You know, with each service, I offer several options to the minister, whoever is speaking that day, on what kind of story they would like. And this is the one that Reverend Jami chose. One of the things I really struck me about this story is that how much of the language in the book is exactly what is in our new Article 2 draft changes. That love is at the center, and that we are moving from a more passive recitation to an active expression of what love is in our bodies and how we are with one another. So I really thought this was a great story for Reverend Jami's sermon today, and I'm glad that they felt the same. I also like the way the main character was not gender specific, and you could see however that person looked to you, you could see yourself in them. All right, we're going to go to the back, and I'm glad we had some friends come forward and listen to the story today.
You got lots of friends, Karina. Some of us are just a little older. This is a time when we would normally have the sermon. And so I'm grateful once again that Reverend Jami was able to record this on the fly. And let's hope that our transmission all goes well. I believe, according to the marquee, the title was Love Wins with a question mark. So let's see how that theme gets developed.
Good morning, San Gabriel. I am sorry to not be with you this morning. I am stuck in a hotel in St. Louis. On our way back from Boston, we had a lot of delays due to the storms. So I wish I could be with you all, and I cannot wait to get to Austin. One of the earliest and most important theological conversations I ever had happened on the playground when I was all of 7 or maybe 8. I was talking with my best friend Autumn about how I really loved our mutual friend Pravina. Autumn was in agreement that Pravina was great, but noted how sad it would be going to heaven without Pravina because she was Hindu, and therefore would be going somewhere else when we all died. This really upset me. At the time, Autumn and I identified as Christian. Pravina was one of the nicest people I knew. She always helped us and was often in a good mood and was fun to hang around with. Where would she go, and why couldn't she be with us when we all died? I remember feeling like something was inherently wrong in this conversation, and it was so obvious to me. Like when someone harms a child or an animal, it was just painful to think about and witness with Autumn. Is the tension in this conversation the good news my minister, who I adored, was always talking about? Is this the best my God, my all-loving, all-knowing, all-accepting God could do? A God of unlimited power has a limited amount of love to give. Was that really the message? And how, of all the religions in the entire world, did I magically fall into the right one? My guess is a lot of you in this room had a similar journey. Maybe you grew up in a tradition or were baptized and confirmed in a tradition in which you were also told that God's love was limited. When we speak of love and universal love, I often think of the Universalists themselves and these earlier experiences on the playground. Our church came about because of the marriage of Unitarianism and Universalism, and I am sure neither side would recognize what our congregations look like today as a combined you and you faith tradition. It's true that our origin has Jewish and Christian roots, and we do take scriptures from those different religious traditions seriously, but not always literally. We affirm that people might experience their God in a multitude of different ways, and we affirm that all people are worthy of love and justice without exception, including all of you and all of us collectively. And religion isn't so much about what happens when people die, but more so what we do with the time left on earth, because we are focused on building the beloved community right here and right now. Our ancestors might recognize we are some kind of church due to the familiar cues of our pew-like setup and stools and hymns and song leaders and music coordinators. We are simultaneously both from these traditions and about them. So if someone said, oh, you are like progressive Christianity or Judaism, you just got rid of Jesus and God, we'd say, that's not entirely true. I'm going to use some very inaccurate stereotypes to describe these two groups, but it's helpful, I think. The group of people began to assert that not only were people not born to pray, they were born good. The evidence of God's goodness was found in our sense of reason. These were the Unitarians. They proclaimed that Jesus was a human, not God, that humans were good, not bad, and for them, salvation happened by character. You build a better life bit by bit. These are people like Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau and Thomas Jefferson, who once wrote, everyone will be a universalist upon death. He was wrong, of course, but I enjoy the sentiment. A lot of the founders of our country came out of a Unitarian church, and broad stereotypes again. A lot of Unitarians were white, wealthy, liberal business owners from Boston. Universalists, on the other hand, were less educated and more like our rural, rugged cousins of Unitarians who went across the country preaching the love of God so expansive that no person, no part of creation would ever be separated. In fact, they said that Gordon McKeon, a famous Universalist of the early 20th century, described the end times as every last unrepentant sinner being dragged, kicking and screaming, into heaven. You are predestined to heaven. You had no other choice. And Texas was a hotbed of Universalism in the late 1800s. There would be tent revivals that basically went, as Reverend Aaron White, who is no longer serving as a UU minister, once described, you're saved, Whether you like it or not, now go home. One of the things that I love about the Universalists was that they took pleasure in the fact that their ministers didn't go to fancy theological schools. They were really happy when people could talk off the cuff and were quick and snappy in their remarks, without research, without degrees. So in 1961, those two groups merged. The Unitarians and the Universalists became the Unitarian Universalists. This is kind of like Ann Richards marrying Bob Marley. So if you take one of the most famous Universalist ministers, Hosea Ballou, and compare him with one of the most famous Unitarian ministers, William Ellery Channing. They both lived in Boston at the same time. Now imagine that Boston only has 30,000 people in the whole town at this part of history that we're talking about. They are separated by about a mile. Their churches were a mile apart, and they never met because the class differences between the Unitarians and the Universalists were just that strong. Hosea Ballou came to be a Universalist by having the wrong emotional experience of God as a young boy, maybe no older than I was on that playground. He went to a revival service with his dad, who was a Baptist preacher. They had an altar call one day, and instead of being afraid of God, he was at peace with God. He was told that this was incorrect because he needed to fear God. He would go on later to learn about Universalism through pamphlets, and his father didn't like it one bit. In fact, one day his father accused him, "Are you reading Universalist literature again, Hosea?" He showed him the Bible and said, "Yes, sir, I am." He often referred to God as a loving parent, and his theology had that as the central metaphor. In his book, A Treatise on Atonement, he said, in the relationship between God and humans, God's not the dissatisfied party. We are. He helped spread this idea of universalism until it became the 5th largest religion in the United States. Our job is to build heaven on earth, not to get or to go anywhere else. So my guess is that if you're in this room, the idea of there not being a hell isn't exactly shocking, and you haven't fainted yet. There may have been a time in your life when it might have been shocking, though. And learning that hell doesn't exist was probably like a weight off your shoulders. It certainly was for me. But I didn't get up this morning and gather the children around the breakfast table and say, "Wake up, everybody, there's no hell." We just kind of came to that conclusion and moved on. So for me, the challenge is not for us to all come here and agree that there's no hell. That would be super easy to do, and we did it a long time ago. The challenge for us in modern universalism is to say, is there a hell or not? But if there's not, and there's not, what are we going to do about it? What are you alive for? What feels like hell to you, not to somebody else? And are you willing to break it to pieces so that others might also be free? Is this a good idea? Is this a radical change of lifestyle that will affect you forever? That's the modern universalist question. It's the concept that each atom in our bodies used to be something else in the universe. And the universe is literally reusing everything, and nothing is trash. We are always being recycled. What I love even more is that's true about you, too. You are being retold over and over and over. And if the universalists were right, and if the universe doesn't make trash, and we reuse everything, then God's not done with you ever. If God language doesn't work for you, your story isn't done yet, and you are not done with you yet either. What universalism means to me is that the biggest mistake you ever made is not the end of your story. Your addiction isn't the end of your story. Your loss isn't the end of your story. Whatever failures you think you had is not the end of your story. So what are you going to do? What feels like hell? And are you willing to smash it to pieces? Because once you drop that idea, and I mean really drop it, that somebody is more worthy than somebody else. Once you stop playing the game of deciding who in your office has the most is the most worthy of love, family, city, state, country, the world, even you, thinking that other people are more worthy of love than you. Once you drop that calculus, all of a sudden every moment becomes a conspiracy of possibility, and everyone you meet is your co-conspirators. This only works in tangible, actual interactions with people. This doesn't work if it's an abstract idea. If we come here to just agree that there is no help, it leads to some sort of hypocrisy and liberal self-righteousness. Someone walking through the doors and going, all these people keep talking about a loving God, but they just don't seem to have love vibes. This will lead to somebody else saying, is that the good news? Does love win? I think it does, but only if you partner with it. Like the difference between knowing a play exists and telling somebody about it, reading the play and that being a little better, or going to the play and that being a little better, or being in the play and having written it, produced it, directed it, is the best, because that's what you're doing. You're in love's play. And it won't win unless you say your lines, unless you partner. So watch what happens when you interact with every person in your life as if their story isn't over. Watch what happens when you look in the mirror, you'll see a human being that you're not done with, or that God's not done with. Watch what happens when you convince yourself that nobody is irredeemable, not even you. See if that looks like the heaven on earth you want to be part of. And if it is, then build it, bit by bit, conversation by conversation, block by block, life by life. I still talk to my friend Pravina. She is still Hindu. I told her now, as a UU, about this early conversation I had with our mutual friend. She just laughed and said, well, the joke's on you, Jamie, because we don't even believe in hell as Hindus, so good luck trying to damn me to a place that doesn't even exist. Pravina believes in reincarnation. I believe in some version of next. But right now, we mutually focus on building a beloved community together with one another here on earth. Because we, Pravina and I, and all of you, maybe this is the only one shot in this lifetime that we have. Amen and blessed be.
Does love win? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Thank you, Reverend Jamie, if you're listening. Appreciated that. Words of wisdom, and several words were going through my mind. Remember, we started saying we are a resilient congregation. Some of our words in our opening had to do with being open and vulnerable. And here we're learning to be in love and the many possibilities of love, and how will we show that love and be in love with each other. All right, second hymn. We're going to try to sing together from the Teal hymnal once again, number 1027, Cuando el pobre, when the poor ones. We will be singing 4 verses in English. Please and thank you. Thank you, Joe. I really enjoyed that more fuller sound that you were bringing into our music today. It's time now in our service where we take an offering, and we do this to sustain this space that we call home and to support the work of this fellowship. I think you'll recognize the offertory music today. It's an old Irish folk tune known as Londonderry Air, but many of us know it as Danny Boy because of the words that were put to this tune, and they were added in 1910. March is recognized as Irish American Heritage History Month, and to celebrate the contributions of the Irish immigrants, so hence the selection for today. So offering now be taken, and we gratefully accept it. Thank you very much. That leads me into thanking folks. It takes a lot of folks to help our congregation sustain itself and present a service like today. So Joe and Jackie, thank you very much for sharing your gift of music. We have folks that work the welcome table, making sure you know you are welcome here and what's going on. We have folks that provide food for us, that nourish us, our hospitality. And we sure couldn't do as good a job as we do without a tech team that are very devoted week after week, often troubleshooting things that you and I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, and they fix it. Thank you to our ushers. Thank you, Chuck and Sarah, for bringing art back into our sanctuary. We have a resident artist today, Jay is here, whose gift of art is bestowed upon us and adds color and inspiration to our life. And Christine, thank you for accompanying him. I don't really want to forget anybody, so I apologize if I am. Point being, thank you everyone for all the little things that you do behind the scenes in every way. Our Habitat team keeping our place beautiful outside and watching and making things grow. And facilities. We have folks that work on our facilities team. So there's a place for you here to be a part of any piece of that you'd like. It's not like you have to take on a big job, but my point is you too can be part of all the many teams that we have. We need all kind of skill sets and people and hands. So if you have an interest in anything, social justice would love to talk to you. At this point, I would like to go over some of our announcements, and I'd like to ask Karina also to come forward. Is she still with us? Yeah. We want to talk about a few things here. We are expressing our love in many ways within this church and through action items. So one of the big things that we're going to do again today is revisit this Article 2, some of the wording changes and revisions. Karina will lead us, as well as Lou, in setting up tables right after church. We encourage you, if you didn't have time to join us earlier this month, come today, learn what those changes are. We want to hear your voice on that. What are you thinking? What changes, revisions might you suggest? Because those that are attending General Assembly in June, as our delegates, will take our voice to be heard. So your voice counts, and this is a great chance, an opportunity that doesn't come along all the time, right? So Article 2, after church, right here. I'm going to hop to, it's a busy time of year here in Texas since our legislation is meeting. Our Texas UU Justice Ministry sends our social justice teams emails about once a week, of bills that are being considered, that they know what our priorities are for social justice and what Texas UUJM has for priorities. And so they encourage us to either quickly phone or email our representatives or those committee members to say I oppose or I support. So if you would like to take action like that, it takes less than a minute to do that. Would you please let myself know or Lou Sneed, and we can quickly forward those emails to you so you too can be a part of showing your love and concern for certain individuals in our Texas and how we can care for them. Karina's going to talk to you about, you were able to go to our Texas UJM legislative days, right?
Yes, last Monday I was at the Capitol with about 150 other UUs from across Texas as part of our Legislative Action Day. We had folks visiting with their representatives, and I was with the Youth Caucus. What was wonderful was they met with Representative Donna Howard, who is a Unitarian Universalist, and they had a statement that I would love to share with you. They say, as UU youth in Texas, we want the Texas legislature to defend transgender affirming care and reproductive health for all, guarantee inclusive education about race, gender, and sexuality, and provide accurate scientific and historical curriculum. And so that was something that they wrote and shared themselves with everyone that they met. And they met quite a number of people, and they were able to watch a Senate committee hearing from the gallery. So it was a very moving, meaningful time. I will share about this in this coming week's messenger so you can see. So I just want to thank you for making it possible for me to go, and it was a really wonderful time. There are several anti-trans bills being put through right now, and what was amazing was we were partnered with Equality Texas, and we were able to register opposition to those bills, one in particular around sports at the university level. And even though there was an anti-trans group also at the Capitol that day, there were more people registering opposition to those bills because 150 UUs were there. So that was really wonderful to be a part of. All right, I think that's a little report.
It's important for us to be involved in legislative issues.
We have to try and bend Texas towards justice. And we want to witness and register our opposition to these bills so that it becomes part of the historical record to show that when people vote in ways that are against the values that people are telling them that they don't follow, that it is significant to say, yes, they did that against the will of the people that expressed that were there that day. Yeah.
Thank you. So once again, if you get a chance, let Lou and I know if you'd like a copy of those emails, and then do what you can whenever you can. It's not like you have to do everything, but many voices do make a difference. Social justice team is meeting tomorrow night by Zoom. You're always welcome to come to those. We're always open to ideas that you have that you'd like to see our church engage in, or if there's a little piece that you'd like to be a part of on the social justice team. That link is in the messenger. Oh yeah, I brought with me up front here our little food pantry. Is Clara here? You want to come up front and tell them who we met this week, John? So Clara and I went over to visit First Presbyterian Church that has a room designated to help the unsheltered population, clothing, some food items, tents, blankets. We wanted to see their setup as Clara, I, and Keith were involved in that point in time count. And while we were there, we met an unsheltered person. Do you need that?
Oh, yeah. We could be up here together. Yes, it was a delightful morning to see all the things that are happening at that church for the homeless and for lots of people. But one of the people were there, and they were familiar with our food pantry. Matter of fact, they said, someone put these like energy drinks in there, and I don't think they knew they were 6% alcohol.
So careful
But-
what you're putting in there.
I think that was fine, but he didn't take them all either. So, and they're free to come in for coffee every day, come in for food once a week. And she was telling us how some of the people in the neighborhood just want everything to go through the Caring Place. But the Caring Place offers food 120 pounds once a month, which is useless for the homeless. So it was good to see that in action, and have actually enjoyed having the morning to spend with Michelle as well.
Yes, as soon as the gentleman asked me, oh, so what church do you go to? And I said, oh boy, here we go. San Gabriel Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. He said, the little blue box of food. I said, that's us. So yes, it does get utilized. He has witnessed people even that he knows put food back in when they can. So that's my plug for the food pantry. You're always welcome to donate whatever you can. This little box is in the coffee room, or you can always just put it right in the food pantry. Whatever you can, whenever you can. Let's see what else I want to highlight with you. Again, we want to recognize that it is Women's History Month. And please, grab a little piece of paper. We got kiddos back there if they want to draw a picture of a woman to put up on our bulletin board. But we want to highlight somebody that you would like us to know more about. I want to announce that the Science Fiction Book Club is going to meet in the Fellowship House right after church today. Is that right? So we got that going. I think we only have one more thing to say, and that is, I believe our Muslim friends, our Muslim neighbors will be celebrating Ramadan starting this week. We want to look and see if we still have our banner to put out for a week or two that we support our Muslim neighbors. But I wanted to remind you, and we'll put a link in our messenger, about during the pandemic, I'm going to say about a year and a half ago, we had a gentleman speak to us, recorded a service for us, Islam 101, and that recording still resides on our YouTube channel. So put a reminder in your messenger about maybe taking some time to look at that over the next 2 weeks. It was a great service, and we thank our Muslim neighbors. Is there anything else I'm missing? I know that was a lot of announcements, but I tell you all those because, folks, we are alive. We're resilient. We are one. We're doing this stuff out of love to create a more just, peaceful, beloved community. May it be so. All right, last piece. Our chalice extinguishing words are written by Melissa Jetter, and it's titled Abundant Grace. From this ground, let us sow mercy, justice, compassion. Let us offer our stories to provide the staples of wisdom. And when we do, let us create and experience the holy presence, the affirmation that allows us to connect with one another and connect with our theological imagination so that the harvest of our faith will be abundant grace. We're ready for some postlude music and some snacks. Thank you all.